Hi, this is Justin Coletti of Sonic Scoop. Thanks for joining me for some more MixCon. And today we are privileged to have on the great Joe Chiccarelli, an amazing producer, engineer, mixer, who has won, I believe, 10 Grammys, and he's worked with some of the biggest artists in the business. His discography includes names like Beck, U2, Morrissey, The Killers, Elton John, Alanismorisette, The White Stripes, Jason Mraz, The Raconteurs, My Morning Jacket, Toriamos, The Strokes, and so many more. Really excited to have Joe on this one, and we're going to get some tremendous insights into his process of mixing. For Joe, the mix starts with the production, and he's going to talk us through the approach he takes during the recording and producing process that really helps him take shortcuts in the mix, getting his sounds on the way in. But there's a lot of enhancement that he does in the mixing stage as well, and we're going to hear a lot of that come together. He's going to take us deep into what he does on drums, showing you how to tastefully and subtly use samples to enhance and support drum tracks. He's going to show us what he does on guitars with some really interesting and bold EQ moves, and he's going to dive super deep on vocals, where he gets to use a plugin that is probably his favorite around because it's got his name on it. This is the part of the introduction where I mentioned that every single MixCon masterclass like this one is free to the public thanks to our sponsors, and the sponsors on this one are a super great fit. It is IK Multimedia. It's such a good fit because IK Multimedia make Joe Chiccarelli's own vocal strip plugin. You've got to check this out. Super interesting design for a vocal processor with everything you need in it. Compression, de-essing, EQ, reverb, delay, and all of these tools able to run in parallel. There's actually 3 different compressors baked in there, each of which offers distinctive tone and can be dialed in to taste in parallel with an incredibly simple, easy to use layout for such a powerful set of processors. And Joe is going to show us just how he uses this thing and just how far he pushes it in this masterclass. So big thanks to IK Multimedia for helping make this one free to the public. If you haven't checked them out, definitely do it, ikmultimedia.com. They make a great line of plugins, notably their whole T-Rack series of plugins offers some amazing emulations of classic hardware at a really affordable price point. And they make some shockingly good studio monitors in the iLoud series, particularly the iLoud Precision series of monitors. Absolutely great stuff. Everyone I know who's heard them, myself included, has been really impressed by just how well they perform. So big thanks to those guys for helping to make this one free to the public. Big thanks to the artist Cayucas for allowing us to go under the hood of their track. And big thanks to you for being here. Hey, if you want some totally free stuff, we've got it for you. Check out the MixCon Mega Giveaway down in the description in the comments below. Click that link and you're going to have multiple chances to win more than $10,000 worth of free gear from all the MixCon sponsors. Last but not least, very cool thing, we are going to have Joe Chiccarelli himself doing a live Q&A right after the premiere of this MixCon masterclass. So look for the link to that as well in the description and the comments down below, where you can ask Joe questions in real time and get answers. If you are here for the live premiere of this masterclass, there will also be a chat box right here on the screen, and you can type in your questions as they pop in your head, and I'll be saving the very best ones for the live Q&A with Joe as soon as this concludes. All right, with all that out of the way, let's get right into it. Joe, take it away.
Hi there, Joe Chiccarelli here. Welcome to MixCon. I'm going to work with the band Cayucas today. I'm going to take you through a mix of their song called Ride the Wave. It's a song that was recorded for their new album. Cayucas is a California band. They've put out 4, maybe 5 albums now. And real surfy sounding, great harmonies, real great layers of vocals, got a kind of retro California thing, but yet a little modern edge to it. So the album was done here at Sunset Sound. We tracked all the basic tracking, which means bass, drums, guitar in Studio One, which is classical room that I work in a lot, really beautiful sounding wood room, got a nice kind of 70s tone to it. Made sure that the drummer had a nice vintage set of drums definitely did a lot to keep the drums kind of dead, 60s sounding, a lot of character in the kit. You'll see in the mix, I layered the drum sound with some samples that have a little bit of sort of room ambience in them that help give it a little bit more old school kind of tone. But basically all the tracks were cut live with the initial bass, drums, and guitar. Then we came into my studio here where we're at today, built everything up, added more keyboards, guitars, lots of layers of vocals, some quirky organs, a lot of real fun stuff. But like I said, the object with this band is to find a place where it's got enough sort of elements that harken back to that 60s California retro kind of thing, Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, whatever, but yet has a punch and a energy and a power of a contemporary alternative record. So here's Cayucas, Ride the Wave. So you can tell right away, the beat, the feel, California. Now, part of Zach's signature tone is he triple tracks all his vocals, so you get that nice chorusing effect between the vocals. You can see here, there's a lead, and then a double and a triple, as well as harmonies in the choruses, some additional harmonies in spots in the verses, bridge, etc. But we'll break down the session in a little bit more detail in a moment. Okay, now that you got a sense of the song and the band's aesthetic, let's go through the mix. I could show you step by step really how the mix was built. Once my basic tracks are cut, I'm going to come into my room here, start doing overdubs, start incorporating elements from the demo perhaps, start really building the song out. Basically, I'm really mixing as I go. Every step of the way becomes inching towards the final mix. So a lot of the things you're going to see in the actual final mix are things that were added, sort of mixing elements, be it EQ, compression. They were actually added during the overdub process. Because as the overdub process goes, I'm doing rough mixes. Again, I'm getting closer and closer to my final mix. So when I actually get to do the mix, it's really a process of refinement, not necessarily starting from scratch. So a lot of the plugins and elements that you're going to see here were really added along the way in the overdub process. For the most part, they always remain in the final mix. They might have been added 2 months prior to the actual mix. Let's break down some of the elements of the tune. Let's hear a little bit of the drums without samples, then I'm going to bring the samples in. Pretty fun, respectable. Here's the samples. Kick sample adds a little bit more knock, a little retro kind of quality, and the snare sample is going to add the punch. So the weight and excitement is really coming from that sample. Without samples, a little bit more knock, a little bit more bottom on the kick, a little bit more weight, a little bit more excitement on the snare. Part of my process recording, especially when I'm producing and I really have a picture of where I want to go with the final product, I'm really capturing all my sounds as close as possible on the recording dates. So all those quirky characters and just the personality that I want to achieve in the final mix really happens during the recording. One thing I try of late to do is not layer the drums with too many cymbal crashes, to keep it all about the groove. More modern records these days are really about the groove and not so much breaking it up with a lot of cymbal crashes and fills. So if I do cymbals, I do them as an overdub. So you can see cymbal crashes are added later. As I mentioned, I like a little bit of character, a little bit of retro sort of quality. So I've added some quirky mics. I showed you the distorted mic. There's one other microphone here that I sometimes use, and that's a microphone that's by the drummer's knee, sort of very close to the kick drum. I'm able to kind of get a little bit more tone to the kick drum and a little bit more character to the snare. So let's hear a little of that. I'm gonna have to turn it up. So you can hear that. That gives me the ring, the old school quality, and it gives the snare a real lo-fi, clacky kind of tone. And that's just a condenser microphone that's basically by the drummer's knee. Okay, so I mentioned that if there's elements in a band's demo that I really like, I try to preserve those and really capture those. They had some really lo-fi, quirky drum tones in the demo, really dead toms that I loved. So I made sure that those made their way into the record. So we'll just hear those couple of little drum elements. So these were blended in with the live drums. In some cases, for instance, in the bridge of the song, the drummer is actually doubling what the demo does. Pretty quirky, but when you add it all up, it works. The drums in the intro and the verse, pretty much the same tone. But what happens is, to give the chorus a little bit more weight and energy, I add this mono compressor that's in the center channel and all of a sudden brings up some power. So, as I said, that's going through 1176 API EQ. And you can see it come on here right in the chorus. So you'll see the drum sound change in the chorus. I'm also adding a reverb for just the choruses, and it's kind of a short reverb. So in all the choruses, the plugins change. So basically, I'm coloring the drum sound as the song goes along to give you a little bit more power in the choruses, power in the bridge, weight to the drums in those sections. Helps the real dynamic flow of the tune. You'll see it goes back now. Verse is a little drier, a little smaller, a little tighter. Now let's hear the bass, the three elements, the direct, the Ampeg B15, and the spring reverb that were added. We'll hear them all together, and then I'll show you the parallel on and off. Okay, we'll break it down. Just the direct. Amp added in. Now the character, reverb. Instantly goes 60s there. And now let me show you what happens with the parallel compressor. my DBX followed by a Pultec. So I'm going to add that in, show you muted. So you can see I'm adding 30–40% of the bass sound is from that parallel. Kind of rounds out the low end, fills it out a little bit. So now you got a good sense of bass, drums, bass and drums and percussion together. Okay, since this is pretty much a guitar band, usually live, they might have a guitar player that doubles on keyboards, but it's really all about the guitars. Usually Ben plays acoustic, and they'll have another guitar player or two in the band. So there are probably a dozen tracks of electric guitar, a couple of tracks of acoustic guitar. There's a rhythm guitar here. Play a little bit of that. You can see I'm adding some mid-range to it, just cleaning up a little low stuff on the end that doesn't have to be there. Just bring a bit more life to the mid-range. Then there's an acoustic that runs through this track, doubling, just rolling off a little bit of bottom. Again, I got the sound the way I wanted it when I tracked, so I don't have to do a whole lot of processing to it. And there's no parallels added to the guitars here. Guitars are just what they are because I've achieved my sound when I tracked. Chorus gets doubled up, tripled up on acoustics, adding some real air on a couple of these guitars. I like to take out upper mid-range sometimes on the guitars, smooths them out a little bit, let the tip top squeak through, but mid-range that gets a little nasty, I like to pull it back. Okay, as the song goes along, there's some other guitars that come in there. Chorus gets a little tougher with a fuzz guitar. Basically just doing the changes, give it a little bit more edge, putting a ton of mid in that. And then we get to the bridge, the low guitar that comes in. Tiny bit of reverb. Let's see what else. We got our real surfy guitars. Reverb's all added while I was tracking on one of them, and then another I have a little spring reverb added for more retro wetness. So you got a good sense of really how the rhythm of that track works. Those are pretty much all the rhythm guitar elements. Now I'm going to show you the real character stuff that happens in the chorus. Okay, let me show you the character guitars that are really adding the personality to the song. There's a little bit of a electric 12-string guitar that opens up the tune. Oh, let's play those. Then the chorus is really where the personality kicks in, but here's the intro. Really simple treatment. I like the old Avid one-band EQs because they're kind of gritty sounding. They have a lot of personality. They are really great for electric guitars, for things that you want gritty. I like the little edge that they add to things. But let's hear the chorus of the tune now, and let me show you all the parts in the chorus. All right, here are the hook guitars. There's fuzz and a double and a baritone. They're really adding all of that mid-range line. And I have them EQ'd to get them even a little extra throaty sounding. Also in the chorus, there's a couple of elements that are really kind of helping out the rhythm. Subtle groove elements, muted guitars, rhythm guitars, and again, really clean tones. Fender Deluxe amp, not a whole lot of EQs. I did decide that my muted guitar, even though I loved what it was doing to the track, it was maybe getting a little clicky and a little harsh. So one of my favorite plugins for acoustic guitars, electric guitars, keyboards, anything where you really need to tame the transients, the split EQ by Eventide allows you to treat the transient portion of the sound different from the tonal part. You have control over different sections of the tone here. So you can see on the muted guitar, so I'm able to get that clicky stuff just a little bit more under control. I'll take it out. You can hear how it doesn't go away in the track, but it just gets warmed up a little bit. Okay, there's not many keyboard elements on the tune. Mostly some piano stabs and organ stabs. Again, kind of keeping that retro quality. Not a whole lot being done processing-wise. I'll show you what's here. I think the piano might be from their original demo. I love the character of it. So I brought that in from the demo. I think I wanted to get a little bit more life in it, so I just put a little bit of enhancer. Okay, here's a piano with a little bit of enhancer. There's also some stabs on a synth. Powering up the stabs a little bit. Pretty much same in every chorus. So yeah, I'm really looking to get a little bit more life out of that piano. So I could see I added a lot of mid-range to it. And even after that, put a little high-end enhancement to just try to get the transients to pop out a bit more. A couple of little organ elements that happen in the bridge. Okay, let's get into the real important thing, the vocals. Vocals are everything, especially with a band like this. Really crucial bit. Let's hear the lead vocal isolated. Again, it's all triple tracked.
I said I miss the feelings, staring up at the ceiling, just me in my bed. Topo up on the bookshelf, Santo smoking, the seashells float up above my head.
Okay, so you have a good sense of now what the lead vocal sounds like. Let me run through a number of things I'm doing with the vocals. Probably the most processing really in the whole song, in this case, is the vocals. There's a lot of elements going on. Let me show you all the parallels. I have a few things happening. I have a compressor that's an overall parallel compressor, and I'm actually using my IK Multimedia vocal strip that I worked out with them. It's really an all-purpose plugin. It gives me my compression, a little bit of effects, a little bit of overdrive, a little bit of EQ, also adding a little bit of a enhancer in the Type A plugin. I'm adding some air to the vocal there. I'm also sending the vocal out to an old school spring reverb, an AKG spring reverb that you can see I kind of sculpt through the tune, turning it up in the verses, down in the choruses, eliminating it in parts of the tune to give a drier tone. There is a little bit of plate reverb that goes through the whole tune. That's here. A little bit of a second plate that's a darker plate that's added in as well. So there really are like 3 reverbs that happen in the song. A spring reverb, for the most part, is happening in the verses, and then there's a little bit of a couple of plates with it. I also have some delays, an 8th note and a 16th note that are happening throughout the tune. But then in the chorus, I want the energy to come up a little bit. So I'm bringing in Bob Clearmountain's Domain plugin, which is giving me a lot of delays, reverbs. I'm adding a lot of the excitement and character in the chorus via these delays. And you can see here, they're just showing up only in the choruses of the tune. In the bridge, I go for a whole other effect, and that's a more old school tape delay, kind of real Benson Echerick type tape delay to the chorus. Okay, here's all our vocals in isolation, and then I'm going to have to do a shameless plug here and show you my plugin in action. On my insert of my lead vocal is also my IK Multimedia JC vocal strip. So I'll show you that in a minute. But let me just play you my lead vocals and you can see how the different elements come in and out of the mix.
I said I miss the feelings, staring up at the ceiling, just me in my bed.
You can see there's more spring reverb in the verse, and then when we get to the chorus, these delays are going to come up.
Up above my head.
You'll hear that come up now.
She comes, she goes, walking in the rain without a raincoat. Ride the wave, 'cause I'm a lo-fi. Too slow, slipping through the city like a slideshow. Ride the wave, we're gonna be okay. I'm so tired of waiting.
Delays go away.
They say,
A little springier in the verse. And then I'll play you some of the bridge where the tape slap comes in.
The days go by and it's deja vu. I just wanna talk, I wanna talk to you. The days go by, it's deja vu. I just wanna talk, I wanna talk to you. I wanna talk to you.
And then in the last chorus of the tune, again, the delays are going to pop up and slap is going to go away. My normal plates are going to stay in there. So the chorus will have a different tone.
She comes, she goes, walking in the rain without a raincoat. Ride the wave, ride the wave. 'Cause I'm a lo-fi, too slow, slipping through the city like a slideshow. Ride the wave, ride the wave. We're gonna be okay.
Okay, so let's hear the different compressors in the track here. We'll start with our first one, the 1176. I'm going to bring in my second one. Starting to cut nicely through the track. Now let's bring in the third compressor. Okay, that's a pretty good blend. There we go. Pretty rocking in the track. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Okay, maybe let's punch up the bridge, add a little distortion. Okay, now that we got a sense of all the different parameters of the plugin, how it sits in the track, let's hear it in isolation and we can go through the different compressors, EQ, effects. We'll start with just compressor number 1.
I said I miss the feelings, staring.
Got a little de-esser on it as well. A little bit of roll off on the bottom end. Let's blend in compressor 2.
Topo up on the bookshelf, Cento,
starting to fill it out really nicely now. And now compressor 3.
Above my head.
And we can blend them all.
She comes, she goes, walking in the rain without a raincoat. Ride the wave, ride the wave. 'Cause I'm a lo-fi.
And if you're feeling like the blend is good, but you're feeling like maybe you hear a little too much of the compressor, you just dial back a little bit more of the dry sound. Once again, we'll go through all the compressors. Here's number 3, which is a much more aggressive, dirty, got a lot of character to it.
And the speakers, honey. Comb in my sneakers toasty. We're going
number
back
2,
to
which is a much smoother, longer release compressor.
She comes, she goes, walking in the rain without a raincoat.
Even just 2 of those, that's a pretty good balance. Now we'll add the main 1176 type compressor.
'Cause I'm a lo-fi, too slow, slipping through the city like a slideshow. Ride the wave. Ride the wave, we're gonna be okay.
Let's hear the vocal in isolation. We'll go through the 3 compressors, some of the other functions in the plugin, EQ, delay, reverb, distortion, enhancement. We'll check them all out.
I said I miss the feelings, staring up at
Okay,
the
we'll break it
ceiling,
down to just the
me
first compressor.
in my bed.
It's a FET type compressor.
So
Pretty standard. Everybody tends to like these on male vocals.
Seashells float up above my head.
I'll bring in compressor 2.
She comes, she goes, walking in the rain without a raincoat. Ride the wave.
Starting to feel pretty good. Gonna roll off a little of that bottom.
'Cause I'm lo-fi, too slow, slipping through the city like a
presence.
slideshow. Ride the wave.
And then our third compressor.
Ride the wave. We're gonna be okay. I'm so tired of waiting, worn down, been hesitating, they say. It's the hardest part.
Not bad. A little bit more reverb, perhaps.
Casio in the speakers, honeycomb in my sneakers.
Got a nice
toasted.
retro kind of tone to
We're
it.
going back to the heart. No way. She comes, she goes, walking in the rain without a raincoat. Ride the wave, ride the wave. 'Cause I'm lo-fi.
That's pretty good. A little bit more of the dry signal. And I'm going to just take a tiny bit more low end off.
Ride the wave, we're gonna be okay.
Working pretty well. Well, I hope that gives you a good idea of the whole mix process behind the Cayucas' song, Ride the Wave.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that MixCon Masterclass as much as I did. Some tremendous insights in this one from Joe Chiccarelli on mixing. Love to see what he did here with the drums, with the guitars, and particularly with the vocals using his own Joe Chiccarelli vocal strip. Really cool tool, whether you use his plugin or any other. I think you get some great principles for his approach to processing vocals with whatever tools you use, with parallel processing being a big and important part of it. If you want to try out his vocal strip plugin, check out ikmultimedia.com. Their whole T-Rack series is one of the best values in emulations of great hardware out there, and some totally new designs, all of their own as well. So check those guys out, and big thanks to IK Multimedia for helping make MixCon totally free to the public. If you want something totally free for yourself, remember we got a MixCon mega giveaway going on where we are giving away more than $10,000 worth of free gear. So check for the link to that in the description and in the comments down below. Also, you'll find a link for the live Q&A that's coming up. If you're here for the live premiere of this masterclass, you can also join us for the live Q&A. Ask your questions and get them answered by Joe in real time. Whether you're watching this the day it comes out or years into the future, I hope you'll join us for that Q&A. Thanks for hanging out. This has been Justin Coletti of Sonic Scoop. See you there.